Awesome. Thank you all so much for coming, especially those of you that have come live. I appreciate it. It's a very sunny day outside and we're all melting in our houses. So we're very pleased to see some of you here. I'm sure some more of you will trickle in as we go. But just to say, yeah, this is going to be an amazing session. I think this is maybe our third session. I'm not sure if I've carried that right, but our third session with On Road that we've done so far. So I know from first-hand experience, this is going to be excellent and you're all going to get so much from it. And if you are interested in any of the previous ones that we've done, we can definitely kind of point to a few of those. I'll put some of the recordings in the chat. So yeah, we're really looking forward to working with them. We're sure we'll do many more in the future as well. So I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thanks, Jem. Hi, everyone. My name is Jamie Wareham. I'm the Interactions Manager at On Road Media. We're a charity. Interactions are our form of kind of media training sessions with a twist, which I'll talk about a little bit more. But just while I'm chatting, we thought it would be great for you to introduce yourselves in the chat box. So we'd love to hear your name, who you write for, and where you're based. We're always really interested to hear where you are kind of zooming in from today. And then if you're watching at home, stick with us. I've got some useful information for you as well. But for those watching live, I've got a couple of just very quick ground rules to get sure the session is kind of running smoothly. This is definitely a webinar. We're going to talk at you quite a lot, but there is a moment later on when we're going to ask you to engage. And so for that reason, do stay on mute if you have distracting background noises. I have a loud fan on in the background, which hopefully isn't impacting too much on. We really do encourage you to ask questions though and comment throughout. So really keep that chat box alive. It's really important to acknowledge that we all come from different backgrounds and experiences and spaces to tonight's event. So just bear that in mind when we're chatting. Really useful to remember that it's important to respect and listen to each other's experience as well. Because it's really important that when we're doing anything, particularly in like diversity and equity spaces, to kind of lean into like that kind of like unconfidence that we have. It's okay to make mistakes. Let's just remember to kind of acknowledge when we do. Respect your own boundaries and confidentiality too. This is something we've encouraged the media movers who we'll meet soon to do tonight. And also, especially considering the heat, look after yourself and take breaks. I've got a very jazzy Toy Story cup to keep me hydrated throughout tonight's session. So who are we at On Road? We are a charity that changes hearts and minds about misrepresented social issues. And we do that in a different way to most kind of media training groups. We do it by bringing people with lived experience and media professionals like yourself together. So it's all really about kind of inspiring authentic stories. So we do that in sessions we call interactions, but you might better understand them as kind of briefings, focus groups, media training. I guess what's really important to double down on is, unlike traditional sessions, they're like wholly collaborative in nature. And so they're great for workshopping scripts, which is something we do with quite a lot of the soaps. They're great for content ideas, which we do with a lot of the newspapers, and otherwise kind of stories and articles. Yeah, and we work with kind of all kinds of folks, from broadcasters and like the streaming platforms like Netflix. So kind of the three strands of what we do, we condense and apply learnings from research on how to shift public perceptions. So everything we talk about is based on research. And we then kind of use that to look out how these kind of narratives is a bit of a funny word, but like how it all plays out and how stories play out in the media and how that affects the way we all talk about something. And then basically, in order to shift those two things, we support people with direct experience to kind of talk to the media and work on kind of changing stories so that basically they're not as kind of binary as they often are played out, but they kind of look at the nuances. So how's that going to look tonight? Well, I'm going to stop talking in a moment and some very interesting people are going to start. And then with that, we've got a kind of fireside chat with Ade, who is going to lead that chat with some guest speakers. We're then going to give you a really brief overview to our most recent media tips guide on writing about migration. It's a really comprehensive guide, but we're going to give you a super kind of too long didn't read version of it. And then we're going to have the opportunity to kind of delve deeper into some breakout rooms, and we're going to introduce you to some people with direct lived experience of migration, so that you walk away with a sense of what an interaction is like, but also with a kind of deeper understanding. And then we're going to finish on time because I would like to get out in the sunshine as much as you all would. And so at this point, I think it's just probably really useful for me to also introduce the Media Movers project, which is what we're doing. So on Road, we have 6 different projects. Media Movers is one of them. And Media Movers brings people with lived experience of migration together with media professionals to inspire coverage and a better understanding of the issues. And the person I'm about to introduce now used to be a media mover and now works as well as a superstar in the media space. Ade Lamoyo is known as Ade, has been part of the Media Movers project since its inception in 2018, starting as one of the young people in the group and moving towards more facilitation work in the last few months. Formerly a core member of the We Belong, the UK's first charity run by young people of migrant backgrounds. Outside all of that amazing campaign work, she works in soaps, devising storylines for Channel 4's continuous dramas Hollyoaks, with plans to move and join EastEnders team in July, which we're excited to follow. And prior to her current role, her career spanned all kinds of amazing journalism, including crime, TV commissioning and education, and her interests include topics relating to identity issues such as migration, mental health, body image, and LGBT issues. Ade, I will hand over to you now to lead the fireside chat before we get our media tips next.
Thanks for that intro. I wrote it myself. Make myself sound more amazing than I actually am, but just saying. Yeah, so thank you so much. I'm Ade. Yeah, like you said, I've just been part of the Media Movers since the inception, and I've been proud to be working along with the amazing on-road team. And with the questions, I'm going to be chatting to 3 current on-road media movers who are Gökhan, Lizzie, and Precious. So I'll just pass on to them to give a quick introduction to who they are. Anyone can start first. Who wants to bite the bullet? Liz, I'll pick on you.
I know you're going to pick on me if you pick on me. I know I can see it in your eyes. Hi, everyone. My name's Lizzie, and I'm a media mover. I have been a part of it since the inception as well as Ade, and it has been a really good experience for me so far. I'm also a previous core member of the We Belong organization, charity organization. I'm currently studying psychology at university. Well, uni's done for the summer now, so I'm working, hustling really hard. I don't know, what else can I say? I'm not sure what else to say. I'm also planning my wedding. I'm getting married end of the year. But other than that, I'm just working, uni, wedding. That's all I have going on right now. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you for that, Lizzie. And Gökhan, Precious?
I don't mind going next. Hi everyone, I'm Precious. I'm like Lizzie. Sorry, my friend is quiet today. Can you hear me, guys? By the way, yeah, I'm like Lizzie. I used to be part of We Belong. But now I'm also been part of On the Road since the inception in 2018. It's been a great great time. I graduated from Ravensbourne last year, and right now I'm working in a production company. Sorry about this, my brain is fried today. Yeah, I'm working for a production company and just chilling and learning a lot about the media industry. Yeah, I'm going to stop talking now.
Thank you, Precious. And last but not least, Gökhan.
Hey everyone, my name is Gökhan, and I'm a member of Media Mover and also Better Future Praxis, and currently working in London. But in September we'll be in Bristol to start uni. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, and whilst I got you, I'm going to start with you with the questions. So your first question is, what do you feel has been lacking in the reporting of migration?
For me, I mean, for my experiences, I try to find stories of people who came here, United Kingdom, like years ago, and now settle their lives, and I don't know, maybe get married, find a job, try to find their way. Maybe they try, and then now currently, what they are doing. I mean, did they find the thing that they are seeking for? Did they feel safe and secure and like feeling this country as their home? I'm curious about these stories, but couldn't find, unfortunately. Might be one, but will be great to see them, more more this kind of stories, because as a migrant, coming to a new country, you're thinking that this country will be your home country, and you're building your hopes and dreams and plan your future. But also you need to see other people who done the same process, and how it feels in the end. I mean, not in the end, but like years later. So it's
like,
been for me 2 years.
Yeah.
But I don't know, 5 years later, what will I see? This sort of things I would like to see more.
Yeah. So from what you were saying, so like more humanized stories about migrants, and also stories outside of their migrations, like years later, what they're doing after, they've sorted their papers.
Most of the time we see their journeys,
Yeah.
the journeys coming to this country, like mostly through channel, and the numbers most of the time, and the home offices like approach to the migrants. And so most of the time we see such stories, such informations, not story. But it will be great rather than focusing on this side of the people lives, rather than focusing on the journey. And because somehow they manage to come here, sacrificing so many things, we understand, but afterwards there's also so many struggling in this country too. So yeah, I find it more, I don't know, realistic to focus on the reality in this country rather than the journey.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. I mean, is there anything else you want to add?
Me? No.
Yeah.
That was enough.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much for that. And then I'll turn my attention to Lizzie. I can see her. Oh, there she is.
I'm here.
I'm trying to see everyone's, like, they're all little faces. And I would ask, my question for you is, how have you found your experience talking to media professionals? Obviously, you with like working as a media mover, and also with like We Belong as well.
With media professionals, I've had quite, I would say it's been 50-50 in terms of experiences. Not 50-50, let's say a varied experience in regards to communicating with media professionals and speaking to them. I think the main one for me would be an interview that I had with a journalist. I'm pretty sure it was through On Road, but if it wasn't, it was through We Belong. I don't know why, I can't remember her name, but she was doing a story and she wanted my story of self, basically. So she called me and she just came across as such a genuine person, and she made me, even though it was over the phone, it felt like I was talking to a friend, and I felt at ease, and it felt like she wanted to get my words on her page, and it made me more eager to really tell her my experience and really get the emotions across. And other than that, I mean, I've had journalists that I've spoken to about loads of different things regarding migration, and they've just been so flabbergasted and shocked, like, what the hell is this? And it just really reminds me of how much information, how much of a lack of information there is out there. So yeah, that's been it, really. And I don't want to talk about the bad ones, because I feel like once I have bad ones, I just kind of forget it, because if I hold on to it, I would never speak to anybody again. But I haven't had horrible experiences. No, I don't think so. No.
And like, with your experience, you feel like, especially when you're telling the story yourself, you feel like it's more easier when journalists or media professionals are like, they're quite like welcoming and confident and make you feel relaxed to be able to...
Of course. And I like it, especially when they ask questions as well. It just shows that they're curious and they want to understand, and it makes me want to explain to the best of my ability.
That's good. Thank you so much. And I'll turn my attention to Precious. FYI, guys, Precious is like suffering from COVID, and she's still here with us fighting through in this heat as well. So thank her for that. And my question to Precious is, what do you need to look out for to feel comfortable working with journalists?
So ideally it will be a way to break the ice and humanize the relationship. For example, anytime we do an interaction, we bring in a meaningful item. It can be anything. For example, I used to bring my student ID card to the interaction because of what it represents, the fact that we had to fight for me to be able to get student loan for me to go to university, and also the fact that, or I bring in like not a teddy bear, I'm too old for that, but I bring in something that reminds me of a holiday I went to with my family and something like that, where you're just talking to the journalist about something that's not having to do with your immigration status. And also the reporter also shared something back to you because they also have to bring in a meaningful item. So it's a win-win situation. It's give and take, and is because they're able to share a little bit of their life experience that's not about the topic they're about to discuss, which is immigration, which can be quite hard and quite emotional. You, in a way, feel more vulnerable because you feel like they're human. The journalists are human too. So it should bring a more nicer environment for you to be able to talk about the issue you're about to discuss. So yeah, a way to break the ice is always good, to feel comfortable. Yeah.
And with like your experience, I mean, personally, for me, I always hate talking over the phone. You know, it's just, I want to see someone's face and, you know, get their reaction. In your experience, do you find it more comfortable over the phone or like Zoom or like in person? What do you think you found that more comfortable?
In the past, we used to do interaction in person, and I find that like that was the other thing we know basically because we did have Zoom. Well, we technically did have Zoom, but no one used it. Yeah. In person was better than over the phone because you can see people reaction. Because on the phone you're guessing by people's tone, and sometimes like today I have a monotone tone, but I'm excited to be here. Don't voice fool you. Yeah, so it's weird when you're doing it over the phone. When you actually get to see people face and interact with them, even when Zoom made us do that without having to leave our house, which I love. It means that I'm able to gauge people's reaction. The only downside of Zoom, you're not allowed to, you can't be there physically. So it feels weird, but face to face is always best if you can do that. Over the phone is good if you just want to get something quickly, like information, like you already talked to them, but you want to just clear up something. Don't do that as a first interaction because that is not good in a way to make people feel comfortable. Face to face is always best.
Thank you so much, Precious. And I've got a final question to open it to three of you guys. Is in the issue of like migration, what do you think? What would you like to see journalists report more on that you're not currently seeing in the media? That's to you guys, by the way. Lizzie, Gökhan, Precious.
For me, I want to see more of the wins. You know, I feel like, as I think Gökhan mentioned this earlier about, you know, showing that there's more to the story than just migration. We're not just migrants. There's more to us. We're students, we're sisters, we're brothers, we're cousins, we're singers, we're bakers, you know. There's much more to someone's personality than just relocating from one country to the other. I'd like to see the big wins, and I want the media to show that, you know, good, to show what good can look like, and it does happen. And people, even though migration can be hard and they go through difficulties, people are able to overcome it. It might be difficult, might be hard as hell. You might cry blood, sweat, and tears, but at the end of the day, people go through it and they come out the other end, and we need to see what the other end looks like.
Following from what Lizzie says, I would also like, it's important to tell the story of average or normal people achievement as well. We don't, like, not everyone can be a Mo Farah or I'm trying to think of someone that right now that's an immigrant that is like in the president of the media. Not everyone can do that. Some people can just be like me and the other young people who just work average job, or just not average, but just doing normal job and just doing creative jobs that don't have to, just because you're a migrant doesn't mean you have to work in the medical field or be a lawyer or advocate. Some people just want a nice, normal, quiet life. And that is okay to do. I mean, it'd be nice if people just show that you don't have to be exceptionally good, like a moral citizenship. You can just be average and live your life, because that's what the whole point of migration is about. People just moving to be themselves, and that is what we would like to see more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm up for that. I'm up for the mediocre life. I'm not gonna try. I'm not anything for the good migrant. I'm so sorry. Mediocrity is for me. And finally, towards Gökhan, do you have anything to add?
Well, is it on? Okay. Well, I would like to see more stories of women's, like, and they, mothers and their children. I think most of the time men speaking, and they're explaining their experiences, But I think I haven't seen anyone, like a woman, talking about their, her experiences. I mean, getting through all of this process alone is hard, but with a child, a baby, it might be very, very hard. And so I think they need more support. So to support them, media is a way to see them first, and then and then find them. So I think I would like to see more of them also, mother and the children's stories.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, definitely agree. I wouldn't be here without my mum, so understand that. We've got like a few minutes. I don't know if anyone has any questions for the media movers or myself. I can answer as well in the few minutes we've got remaining in this section. I can't see anyone's face. I don't know. I'm just staring into the distance. No, if
we had a,
oh,
sorry, I was just looking at the questions that we kind of had in advance. We had loads sent in advance, which was really great. And I think quite a lot of people asked about, I know we've touched on this already, but asked around interviewing and kind of just best practice in those interviews. So I just didn't know if anyone else had any other bits of practical advice for maybe even, like, the start of that relationship, when someone first reaches out and said, oh, I'd like to chat about something, how the best way to approach that is. I don't know. Does anyone want to take that? I'm happy to answer it then. Answer it. I think personally for me, with like my experiences, I think it's just especially with how like personal these issues can be. I think it's just like making the young person understand that they value their story, and it's not just like another tick box, and they're just going to do this and then that's it. Because when we're sometimes speaking to journalists, a lot of this our story, what we say is very personal matters, and I feel like sometimes when I see a lot of stories, it kind of forms like trauma porn in a sense, and it's like you want people, someone that you're speaking to actually get across that they care about your story, and they value what you're saying as well, and they understand the significance and the importance. And now sometimes it can be traumatic for you to talk about, and I think that's just really, and just making them comfortable and having that relationship where it's like a two-way street. Like they can call you if they realize, oh, I said something, but I realize I don't want that to be printed or something like that. It's not like they kind of scared to like approach you afterwards as well. So yeah, I think it's just having that comfortability with with someone you're talking to and sharing your personal story with. Don't know if anyone wants to add. Lizzie, Gökhan, Precious. Someone in the chat said, do you want to approve the articles before they're published, or do you try and build trust with the journal and hope for the best?
The best journalists that I had actually give me like a preview of what they're gonna write. So if I felt uncomfortable about something, like if I accidentally said something that I realized I don't feel comfortable sharing that, then the reporter did take that away. And I feel like it's always good to build that relationship, because it is scary telling your story, especially if you've always been taught that you have to be private about your life because of the whole immigration system. So it's scary to try to tell your story and then someone, maybe they didn't mean to, but what they publish is not what you said. So it's always good to like always relay information back and forth and try to make the young migrant like myself feel at ease and feel trusted. Like if you need to contact them for next time, they'll feel more easy to they'll feel more comfortable in sharing their story back to you, or even recommend you to other young people. Because if you said that, oh yeah, I trust this reporter, they're not going to slander you or do anything bad, then yeah, you can build up more story from that. So just build a relationship is what I'll say.
Yeah.
Sorry, just something to add quickly. I think also knowing and respecting boundaries is really important. I mean, sometimes as Precious said, you say something and you want to take it back. Just knowing how far to really, because sometimes questions obviously lead to other questions, knowing what line should not be crossed. I think things like that should be discussed at the beginning. And I think that would also help in building trust between the journalist and the person who's telling their story.
Thank you, Lizzie. Anybody else? Any more questions? Well, if that's all, I'll pass it back to Zeno.
Awesome, thank you. And thank you everyone for your answers on that panel. So I'm gonna jump straight in. So today, as part of the foundation of this conversation is our migration in the media guidelines that we've put together as media movers. And it's about telling authentic stories with impact. So it's just like a nice compact document that kind of touches on all the things that the media movers I feel are important when it comes to telling any kind of story around migration. I guess like following on from the conversation about how you build trust with people, the first thing is the language that we use. And of course, like each individual will have a way of kind of talking about themselves and how they describe their experience. And the media movers, agree, like there are many different terms to describe, legal terms to describe all the various experiences that people have around migration, but the media movers agree like no one term fits all, of course, but it's important to identify people as people and by their experiences accurately. So saying phrases, Joe, if you could click through, yeah. So saying phrases like person who now lives in the UK, person who moves, young man with refugee status. So we're identifying them and their experience, not only by that. So that's like the kind of rule to go by. But of course, each individual, it's also kind of check with each individual what they prefer, because they might be comfortable with other terms. And, making the choice to add words like illegal kind of distorts the reality of migration and like misrepresents the experience and people who migrate. And that's something to consider when we're writing articles or whatever it is that we might be doing around migration. And in terms of when we dig deeper, some things that you can do around telling stories. So the first thing is, and Lizzie kind of media has touched on this already, is showing people with migrant backgrounds as more than their experience. So highlighting the personalities, the quirks, the hopes, the fears, whatever it is within the story. And that shows that we value the story and the person beyond the stereotypes that we might associate with them. And also kind of, it kind of works to also build trust with that person that you're interviewing and with the community that's around them, whether it's an organization or whatever, and know that you're someone that they can go back to. Within that, not everybody works within the political sphere in news. And that's fine, because migration is an everyday experience. It intersects with all parts of life. So it doesn't need to be a political story. It can be part of other topics that we might be talking about. And that's a great way to kind of draw audiences in and help them see how we all connect around the issue. And finally, within that, helping audience to understand the root causes of the issue. So if we're going to talk about migration and we're talking about individual stories, which is a great way to kind of draw people in and help them understand the reality of the experience, we should also be linking it back to the root causes of why, you know, migration can be difficult in all its various ways. And that helps people understand the systems and kind of the bigger picture. So we've talked about language and we've talked about some things that you can do within telling the story. Something that kind of can fall by the wayside is actually the imagery that we use when it comes to migration. So within that, some things, you know, people who have migrated are keen for images to kind of reflect themselves and the realities. So using images, for example, that kind of share their talents or like a moment of importance, or are kind of just simple and just them smiling at the camera, right, rather than the stereotypes that we might see, like images of boats, crowds, and violence at borders, or that further stigmatize, dehumanize, and reinforce the kind of stereotypical experiences of understanding of migration that some people might have. And essentially, young people just want to kind of see the breadth of their stories and experiences, rather than kind of the generic imagery that we kind of allow or choose to have attached to their stories. Because you don't want to have a great story that tells a beautiful story about someone's migration experience, touches on systemic issues, but then is attached to an image that kind of triggers a negative association within the audience. And so at the end, this is something that you might have seen if you watched our Reporting Poverty webinar, but just like a reminder to look after your sources. Again, something the media movers have touched on. Brief well, talk about what you cover beforehand. It's always great to have information. And, you know, if things change, as, you know, as they always do, keeping people in the loop so they can, so they're not sitting by the wayside and waiting. And that's because they are your valuable source of information. And it's just a great way to kind of keep them on side if you ever want to kind of work with them again. Thank you for listening. I'm going to pass it to Jamie, who's going to explain what we're going to do now.
Amazing. Thanks very much, Zeno. I hope that was all really useful. For those of you watching at home, we're about to lose you, but worth just noting that if any of this was useful today as you was watching back and you're looking to kind of meet with our amazing network of young people from migrant backgrounds, you can. We run sessions like this all the time. We're part funded to do so, whether you have budget or not. So get in touch with us. You can find us on the links below in the YouTube or visiting onroadmedia.org.uk.